Hey, welcome to GAints ARE BREAD. This is the only show in town about AI, where the co-host is an AI who's probably smarter than me. And I'm very blessed today to have two very wonderful guests, Mr. Fred Ho. Hi, Fred.
Hi, Philip.
And Mr. Jonathan Sim.
Yeah.
Right.
Hi. Yeah.
Okay. Fred and Jonathan are amazing people. I think, Fred, you want to tell us more about yourself?
Oh, I'm not so amazing. I thought the story is about my father. So I'm here to give a glimpse about what I know of my father. For all these 72 plus years that I've known him.
So you're 72 this year?
I'm going to be 73 shortly.
73.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I've known my father for more than 72 years.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and he's a remarkable man. I mean, having lived about 100 odd years, So we've seen many interesting things in his life. He had a wonderful life, an active life. So I think, as far as I'm concerned, I'm here to share a little bit about him, He's not much of a publicity guy, quite a down to earth chap, and in fact, his story was only known to me, or really known to me, in terms of his wartime experiences, very much later in life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. Well, what a legacy. I hope my son will be able to call me a remarkable man when he's 72. That's just amazing. Yeah. And Jonathan, I think Jonathan invested a good part of his many months putting together this autobiography, right?
Yeah,
Called The
that's
Flying
right.
Tigers.
Mhm.
And he listened to Captain Ho, Fred's dad, and wrote down the stories. Thank you so much for doing this, Jonathan.
Okay, you're most
Yeah.
welcome. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean it happened back in 2017. 2017, I think. Yeah. Yeah, so that was actually an interesting period for me because I was preparing to be a lecturer. I'm now a lecturer of philosophy. So at first, many people ask me like, "Hey, how are you involved in this? Are you like his grandson or something?" Yeah, but actually, it's got some semblance, right? No, but actually, it's more a lot of happy coincidences lah. It's just very random. Like one day, I just got a phone call from World Scientific Publishers. They say, "Hey, we like this other book that you edited. Do you want to edit this manuscript? It's about the life of a World War II veteran." Then I was like, okay, that's exciting. But then when I got the manuscript, I realized, oh, actually there's a couple of holes here and there. Some things need to be reordered and stuff like that. So I talked to the publisher. I say, hey, would you be okay if I try to interview Captain Ho and maybe rewrite some of these things in the book? Then it will be able to capture a lot more of his own feelings. Because the memoirs that he and Fred wrote together originally was very factual. It was just, this happened. And I thought to myself, hey, the what was it, National Heritage Board? The Singapore National Archives, the National Archives. They were doing this thing about the subjective histories. They were interviewing people, the oral history archives.
History,
yeah.
yes.
So then I thought, hey, actually, this is a valuable project. We don't just want to have the factual happenings. We also want to hear his thought process, his feelings, at various points in time. So I told that to the publisher, and then they said, yeah, okay, sure, go ahead. We support.
Well,
and
they couldn't find a better person because you are a lecturer in philosophy and data analytics and computing in the National University of Singapore.
Yeah, and Chinese philosophy
and
too.
Chinese philosophy.
Yeah.
And if I'm not wrong, you're first class honors in philosophy.
Yeah,
which is
that's right.
Ridiculously hard to get, right? So you really got the right writer for that. Do you know all this about him?
No. When we met him, we were very surprised that World Scientific sending us such a young man. And I mean, he's basically not a writer, and yet what he did to my father's memoir was really fantastic, and a lot of friends and people who read it, they said they couldn't put the book down. It's so amazing that he, as a non-writer, could do such a wonderful thing.
Yeah, and I love all the what you call subtopics, like the engagement.
Philip, you must note that he was a very busy man doing his
I was doing my masters at that time. Yeah.
And yet also doing a bit of lecturing, and
Yeah.
then he
Yeah,
had to
that's
spend a lot of time to talk to my father.
Yeah, that's right.
I remember sometimes he had hard times because my father did not want to answer all his questions.
Right.
He put a lot of questions. My father was saying, why you ask me about the color of her hair, or what clothes was she wearing, you know, what type of colors. So he couldn't understand that. So he was a bit annoyed at one stage.
Yeah, at some points he even say, you know, like, "Hey, Jonathan, why you give me so much homework?"
But you must say, you must really think at his age, you know, he actually took the trouble to actually write out, right, Jonathan?
Yeah.
It was not just giving point form, but he wrote out his answers to you. But
And it wasn't easy because I gave him like 40 to 60 questions each meet, you know. We met like once every 2 to 3 weeks,
Well,
over 9 months.
This is very exciting. So let's start from the very beginning.
Okay, sure.
But before I start, I'm also very excited to share with you all that this week, right, we actually launched our AI avatar on our website, right? And I'm actually recording the screen right now, okay? And I'm going to ask our AI avatar some questions first. Then you corroborate whether 准不准, whether correct or not, okay? So, what is the Flying Tigers? Okay, and tell me about the Chinese pilots within them. Okay, so let's see what the internet
what
knows.
his answer is it?
Yeah, and then after we corroborate whether it's true or not. Okay, so he's actually thinking and going through. All right. Okay, coming soon. It's a lot of data to go in.
I thought he's much faster than this.
Well, in this AI analysis, this bot, right, it's not just like Google search. It's actually assembling the information and interpreting what we are trying to say. Yeah, so it takes a bit of time.
The Flying Tigers, a legendary group of brave and skilled aviators who fought during World War II. The Flying Tigers, officially known as the American Volunteer Group, AVG, consisted of volunteer pilots from the United States who flew combat missions in China against the Japanese forces. Led by the charismatic General Claire Lee Chenot, they were known for their distinctive shark-faced nose art on their aircraft. Now let's talk about the Chinese pilots within the Flying Tigers. Alongside the American volunteer pilots, there were also Chinese pilots who played a vital role in the Flying Tigers operations. These Chinese pilots were part of the Chinese-American Composite Wing, KCW, which was formed to work closely with the American pilots. The Chinese pilots in the Flying Tigers were recruited from the Chinese Air Force and underwent training to fly alongside their American counterparts. They flew combat missions, provided air support, and engaged in aerial battles against the Japanese forces. Their contributions were crucial in defending China and supporting the overall mission of the Flying Tigers. These Chinese pilots demonstrated great courage, skill, and determination in the face of adversity. They fought side by side with their American comrades, showcasing the spirit of cooperation and solidarity in the fight against Japanese aggression. The Flying Tigers and the Chinese pilots within their ranks hold a significant place in history, symbolizing the bravery and resilience of those who fought for freedom and justice during World War II. If you have any more questions, or if there's anything else I can assist you with, please feel free to ask.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask them if they know who is Captain Ho Weng Toh and was he one of them. Okay, let's see what the internet knows.
Okay.
I apologize, but I do not have specific information about Captain Ho Weng Toh Winky, or whether he was a part of the Flying Tigers. The Flying Tigers consisted of numerous pilots, both American and Chinese, who volunteered to fight against the Japanese forces in China during World War II. While I cannot provide details about individual pilots within the group, their collective efforts and bravery are widely recognized and celebrated. If you have any more questions, or if there's anything else I can assist you with, please let me know.
Yeah, so this actually fuels my anger because, you know, Captain Ho has done so much, but this so unknown, so little known, whether on the World Wide Web or whether in Singapore, right? tell me, Fred and Jonathan, is this information accurate so far? About the Flying Tigers, about, you know, the Chinese pilots therein.
But there's no mention about them being sent to America to be trained.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also the Flying Tigers that flew in combat in China, they were actually mercenaries in the start. They were like, to me, like cowboys. They were just rounded up, and Chiang Kai-shek did not have any air force in those days, so he just got this group of American pilots led by Chenault, and they gradually formed the basis of the Flying Tigers and also the basis of the Chinese Air Force, because they help train and guide them, guide the young pilots, through a whole process. They firstly had to go through basic training in China, the recruits, and then when found fit, they were sent to America for training. And that's where my father always mentioned about the 1 year miracle training, because it was only 1 year that they had to churn out the pilots. And it was a very grueling and hard training process. Many of them, because they come from a Chinese background, their command of language was not so good. But fortunately for my father, because he had English education in Ipoh, it was a little bit easier for him.
Right. So I think that's a very good backdrop. Just want to ask Jonathan one side question. Jonathan, you spent a lot of time and effort to do this.
Yeah.
Why? What motivated you? I mean, obviously you felt that it was important, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess because I did my NS in the Air Force, so I felt like, okay, from one Air Force person to another Air Force person, like there's a special connection. So I wanted to tell his story, mainly because you don't hear of many World War II veterans around in Singapore. Yeah, I mean, or even someone who's over 100 years old, right? So I thought, okay, no, I really do want to tell his story. It was very interesting because some people close to me, they were saying, like, oh no, you shouldn't do this. They were saying you shouldn't do this. You have never written a biography before. What if you ruin that person's story? So that actually added quite a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons that motivated me also was because the more I talked to Captain Ho, the more I realized, this is one large chunk of our history that has not been well recorded. Not just from a Singapore aspect. Also, if we talk about the World War II aspect, because there's this cliche saying right? History is written by the victors, right? And this was the Flying Tigers was a cooperation between the back then the government of China, which was the Kuomintang, right? Kuomintang and America. And so when the Communist Party took over, a lot of these Kuomintang references were kind of shushed out of history lah. So it's interesting, like if you talk to basically people from China, they some of them are actually surprised that the Flying Tigers is a cooperation between China and US. They actually thought, hey, this is a Chinese thing, So they were taken by surprise. And then if you talk to a lot of the Americans, basically because of language barriers, right? So most of them only hear the accounts, the stories from fellow Americans, the American veterans. So stories of like Captain Ho, they're lost. But then there's another aspect, which is we always talk about the World War II aspect, but there's another aspect that made me want to that really compelled me to want to write this, was because of how big a role he played with Singapore Airlines.
Oh, Singapore Airlines.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, because nobody call him this, but in my mind, I think of him as really the grandfather of Singapore Airlines.
Wow.
Yeah, because he was the first of 4 pilots from Malaya to join. Back then it was called Malayan Airlines, right? And what was so amazing was because back then it was run by the British, and they faced a lot of discrimination as non-whites, right? And so he had this conviction, like, hey, I want to stop the discrimination. I want to put an end to this unequal treatment. I I want to put an end to racism. I want to help my fellow cadets to do well. So I think that's very important, because it was because of that conviction and that patience, extraordinary patience, that led him to say, I will do my best to help as many of our local cadets pass and get their license to become pilots and eventually become captains. Yeah, so that's something we don't hear very much about, and I wanted that aspect of the story to also be told.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so let's start the story
Sure.
from 8th of December 1941, right? In Hong Kong, right? At the in the campus overlooking Kai Tak Airport.
May Hall.
Yeah, May Hall.
May
yeah.
Hall. Okay, sorry, I haven't memorized
No,
enough of the book
it's
yet.
okay.
That's okay. Yeah.
Okay, 8 a.m. in the morning, right? Can you all describe to me what Captain Ho saw?
It's very
It's
it's
not
not
easy.
comments. I mean, not many people would be able to do that. Even good writers, and Jonathan is not a writer as such. right?
Multi-talented.
Yeah.
Yeah, very talented. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, welcome to GAints ARE BREAD. Okay, the only show in town talking about AI and the history and presence and future of Singapore, while at the same time, having perhaps the only AI avatar co-host. Okay, we are very privileged to be here today because we are going to be discussing about a very amazing character. So I was actually writing a proposal. At that point of time, Ukraine was just invaded by Russia. And, small countries were being bullied by others. So I started to do a quick research. Who are Singaporeans who fought in World War II? And I was astounded when I came across this gentleman, Captain Ho Weng Toh. He was only 21 years old when the war hit and he was in Hong Kong. And somehow he got himself trained to be a B-25 Mitchell bomber pilot. Right, and after the training, he actually flew missions in Indochina and near China, and he fought in the war. After the war, he lived in Singapore, grew his family in Singapore, had his family in Singapore, and was pretty much the father of the Singapore Airlines, right? So I'm really excited that today, right now with us, we have Mr. Fred Ho, who is Captain Ho's son, right? And Mr. Jonathan Sim. Jonathan literally wrote the entire biography, The Flying Tigers, right? This is a very valuable book which I think many young Singaporeans have not yet seen. Okay, welcome Fred and Jonathan.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Philip.
Okay.
Thanks for inviting us for this
It
chat.
is my privilege and my pleasure. Okay, so let's go back to 8th, of December 1941. That fateful day, I'm sure Captain Ho has described to both of you exactly what he saw. What happened that morning, 8 December? 21-year-old student in Hong Kong University waking up. Tell us what happened.
Okay, I'll go. So actually he recounted the story as he was actually studying for the exams. The exam period was around the corner, and then suddenly he started to hear bomb. He didn't know what was going on, right? Then he tried to continue studying, but then he heard the sounds again. He started to hear screaming outside. So he decided, okay, he rushed to the balcony of May Hall, and then he opened the curtains, opened the window, and then he looked out, and then he saw black smoke coming out from the airport, and there were planes circling around it, and then he couldn't believe his eyes, right? So he went to the radio nearby, turned it on, and then there was the announcement that the Japanese have arrived in Hong Kong. Yeah.
Was that how he described to you as well, Fred?
Yeah, that was more or less what he saw. It was a very surprise encounter because it was very peaceful in Hong Kong in those days, and he was just about waking up after doing a lot of studies. Yeah.
I wonder the average Singaporean 21-year-old today, if they encounter, well, you teach in a university, right?
Yeah.
So I wonder what the average student will do when they see something like that happen, if they ever see something like that happen. What did Captain Ho do after that? I mean, as a response to this this bombing of Hong Kong.
I think because the invasion was very swift, there was not much time to react. One thing that really amazed me lah, right, was that what he did after, because what happens was many of his friends, okay, got rounded up by the Japanese, and they were forced to march to the prisoner of war camp. Yeah, and because they were his friends, he started to gather food and actually went to the prisoner of war camp to sneak some of the food near the camp in a place where he hoped that they would be able to get access to it. Very, very dangerous. Yeah, it's like I thought that was amazing because, you know, like most people, they'll be like cowering in fear, finding a place to hide. But no, that was something that he did. He was right from the start. He was already looking out for his friends. Yeah.
From that point to becoming a pilot flying an American plane as a Chinese guy in World War II, what was the journey? How did that happen? It's almost like 3 years of history, right? I mean, the whole journey, you know.
Yeah, but the first part of it, I think, is something which I think I remember most because it's not so much about his missions that he probably told us, but he was telling us about how he started to flee from Hong Kong during the occupation of Hong Kong by the Japanese, because it was a very terrible time when the Japanese were there. They were quite brutal in their actions, and there were a lot of atrocities. So, and his mission actually at that point in time was still wanting to complete his studies, to study on. So he and some of his friends then decided that, oh well, it's I think safer to be in China because it's a big land and maybe we can continue to study. So they started to plan to flee from Hong Kong to China. So a group of about 25 of them, together with two guides, went on a very harrowing and treacherous crossing from Hong Kong to that time free China, that they call. And they had to go through a lot of Japanese-held territories. And so that was a very difficult moment. Anything could have happened.
Yep.
Yeah. And if they were found out, then finished. They would not have survived. So after, I think, about 3 weeks...
Yeah, I read something. He actually met Mr. Hoppa Hoppa himself.
Oh, yeah,
right?
Yeah. He was a very fantastic gentleman who gave them about 500 Hong Kong dollars to help them in this crossing. So, he was grateful to him. And I think later on, he did meet him after the war. And this Hoppa, he did not even say, you return me the money, that type of thing. He was so generous. So anyway, I think that was a start to me, and that is a very important turning point. So I think he has often emphasized that. And also because during this trip of his, he met many people and became very close friends. Some of them I even met later in life. Yeah, and there's a lady who is still alive. Her name is Eleanor, Dr. Eleanor Yu. She lives in Penang. Yeah, and he still is in contact with her. One thing about my father, he makes friends very easily. He's a social person. He's a people's person, and he still maintains this type of close friendship. So there's this lady, and there's one Joe Chen. His son is a friend of mine who lives in Singapore, and many others. There's also this. I think Benny Lim and Charlie Lim.
So they made it across to China with some of these friends.
Yeah.
Wow.
But they dispersed after that because they made their own ways to different places. But my father still wanted to continue to study, so he found himself enrolled into Sun Yat-sen University. Yeah, and one fateful day, he saw this sign or a newspaper, I think newspaper advertisement, looking for pilots to join the Chinese Air Force.
No internet posting those days.
No. And well, some of his friends also wanted to join, but they sort of teased him, say, hey, you are small size in stature. I don't think you can make it.
Yeah.
But surprisingly, out of his group of maybe 5 of them, he was the only one that was called up and finally made it. So the others couldn't make it. And that was the start of his journey to be a pilot. Of course, it was not so easy because it had many training obstacles and tests that he had to go through.
And that was like call it the miracle year in the book.
No, chapter. Not yet. That was still in China.
Still in China. Then there was India also, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Pre-flight, and then of course, firstly is the physical, and also examination. He had to sit for a very difficult examination, and it was in Chinese, in Mandarin.
Whoa.
So it was a bit harder for him. Being schooled in the English educated system, it was a bit difficult. But fortunately for him, his father put him through when he was in Ipoh before he left for Hong Kong. Put him through like some sort of tuition. Jonathan, you remember the lady's name? What's her name? What fun?
Suk Fan. Yes, Fan. Yes.
Yeah. So maybe you can tell that this is a romantic story.
So when parents put you through tuition, you should be happy.
So his Chinese tutor eventually became his first girlfriend.
Oh.
Yeah. They're around the same age, and I mean she was happy to teach him because she also wanted to learn some English.
Right.
But later on, this was before he went to Hong Kong U, right? So, but later on they broke up because there was an traveling opera troupe that came from China. Basically, they were doing more than just opera. They were recruiting people. They say, come and support the China because we're being attacked by the Japanese. So Suk Fan was like, okay, I will hit the call. I will go to China. I will support the people in China. So they broke up, and then he didn't see her at all until after World War II.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was a very chance encounter in Shanghai. It was very surreal for me because not too long after I finished the book, I actually went on a holiday trip to Shanghai, and I found the street where he bumped into her.
Wow.
It was in a bookshop. And I tell you what's amazing, okay? Captain Ho could remember every detail about her, the hairstyle, the clothing, everything. And this was before I saw photos. Like I was asking how can you remember how she looked like, what she wore, and then he described every detail.
Wow.
And then eventually Fred showed me after all these things were written, he showed me, hey, here's a photo album, and then I saw the photo. I was like, hey, this is really exactly as Captain Ho described to me. I was like, that's incredible. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, do you want me to if I say more, I'll be spoiling the review. Yeah.
Yeah, but he met her at a bookshop, I remember.
Yeah.
So I think also, I mean, touching on this point about romance, I think there are many interesting stories. Like in Hong Kong, he met Florence just before the war. And Florence is still alive, by the way. Recently, I met her daughter.
Florence was one of the friends who flee with him, or
no. She's a Hong Kong native in Hong Kong.
Okay.
Later, maybe Jonathan will tell you about the story. It's an interesting story. But what I'm trying to say that he met Florence, and Florence was a lady that taught him some beautiful songs. And as far as I know, my father, in each of his romance, he has a special song. And so Florence was one of those ladies that taught him, together with Loretta, two of them. They were good friends, and both of them became very good friends with my father for all the years.
Right.
Yeah. Loretta has unfortunately passed away, but Florence is still alive.
This was the one that he sang for Gilbert.
Yeah.
Okay, in the podcast we'll play that.
He had a few songs like Toselle's Serenade. So, and as I said, interestingly, each romance had a song. It's like a story, to him.
Yeah.
There you go, guys. This is
Yeah.
how he's done.
Yeah. So his life is really fascinating at times. I think.
So in those days, after the tuition, I mean that was the flashback lah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now he's in
Hong Kong.
in China.
Yeah, in
Oh,
China,
Hong
yeah.
Kong, and then
And
he
then
somehow
eventually-
managed to get over to Hong Kong, right?
Yeah.
And then
The
sorry, over to China.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, and then he went through a test.
Yeah,
and
physical
then
and exam. Yeah.
physical exam. Then after that, what happened?
So just back to the test part. Because he did some learning from this lady, and because my grandfather is into Confucianism,
Right.
And brought up his family in such a environment.
Mm.
So my father got some pointers as far as the Chinese lifestyle. And one of the questions I think is about the three principles, right, Jonathan, in the
Three
exam.
principles.
3 or 4 principles.
Oh no, that one was the Sun Yat-sen's
the exam,
ideology.
the exam,
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Sun Yat-sen.
Yeah, Sun
Okay,
Yat-sen.
so where did he learn that from? Was it from Sokwan?
No, I think it was. Oh gosh, where maybe from his father or from the university.
Yeah,
Because I remember the Sun Yat-sen University was also teaching.
So that was very
three
important.
principles.
Yeah, because
later
a
on.
lot of his friends failed because they
didn't know about
They didn't go
those-
through this.
There's three principles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is where he managed to pass.
Right.
So that was the start of his turning point. Another turning point as far as getting into the Air Force.
Wow. So he passed
Yes.
physical. He passed the theory.
Yeah.
And then off he went. He took a ship to the
No,
next training area.
He went to Lahore, then after some...
Which is
some-
Pakistan today,
yeah.
right?
And then from there, he went to Bombay. Bombay, he took the ship across the Indian Ocean, and then
All this during World War II,
Yeah,
and
and then down
everybody was fighting.
Yeah,
Cape
that's
Horn
right.
and Cape Town, and then up to the Atlantic side.
Yeah, that's right. In fact, even the flight to Lahore was very, very dangerous.
Yeah.
Because back then they don't have those modern flight systems, right?
Right.
So everything is by ice, by nickel
Agak-agak
ice. Yeah. So that route had so many accidents. Yeah. So just flying there was itself a feat. Like they were all worried. Is the plane going to crash? Because there's so many crashes. I think what's amazing, to pick up on what Fred mentioned earlier, the Captain Ho's father was a very strong Confucian, and one of the values that he ingrained in Captain Ho so strongly was this idea. In Cantonese is ngai. I guess in English it translates to perseverance, resilience, and that is really the underlying theme throughout his whole life. Like, just getting into Hong Kong U, he had to have resilience to study, just to survive pilot training, or even the struggle of studying as a war refugee student itself also requires a lot of resilience. Because why? He didn't have a lot of money, so every day living in as a refugee student, his food was breakfast was just soya beans. Then he'll eat some tangerines as a snack throughout the day, and then dinner was like rice and an egg with soya sauce, and that was every day. Every day, So, and then the military training was very grueling. Like even they started with a large number, and then because of the physical
So
and
much like
mental,
special forces. at that
yeah,
time.
correct. So a lot of them dropped out. Even if they made it to Lahore, even to the US, they dropped out. Even the US, one of his close friends, decided to go AWOL. He was like, I cannot stand it anymore.
Really.
He was, I can't stand it anymore. And then he fell in love with someone. And then Captain Ho was like, no, you know what's going to happen to you if you flee. Then he's like, I don't care. So. But Captain Ho was like, okay, the father taught him ngai, persevere, resilient. He held on to that throughout, no matter how painful, no matter how low. Like he shared with me in the interviews that there were several points where he felt he was at his lowest, he still held on, and that to me was very, very inspiring.
Well, that's actually the founding value of people like that, and maybe Singapore as well.
Yeah,
That's
right.
when like shit really happens, and then you just go through it,
Mm.
right?
Yeah, just
Wow.
like bite the bullet and
Yeah.
just move on.
Nowadays we just quit, change jobs,
Yeah.
or whatever.
Take the easy way out,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right.
But I think his motto also is not to give up, lah.
Not to
He
give
had
up.
this I think is which is what Jonathan said is right. His father imbued this into him, and he was motivated by this thought that he cannot fail, cannot fail,
Cannot fail. Yeah.
So he kept on pushing on.
Not just don't give up, but he has to succeed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
and it's not just succeed for himself. It's also succeed for all the people that help him
Put him
come
there.
so far.
Mm.
Like right. Suddenly, I thought of there's this Chinese phrase like 饮水思源. When you drink water, remember the source. So there's a lot of gratitude to all the people, like the ones that got him out of Hong Kong, the ones that helped him to survive in China, and all that. So there's a whole, like, yeah, I want to repay the kindness. I want to defend China because I want to repay. I'm indebted to them. I want to pay back.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Lahore, Bombay, then all the way down the Atlantic, because then he went to America.
He
Like,
actually
this is 1943, is it?
touch base. His first stop was in New York,
New York.
where he passed through.
Which year was it?
He saw the Statue of Liberty, freedom.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, I think it should be around 43 already.
43,
Yeah,
yeah.
43. Yeah.
So
I think
43 is
around
the-
late 43, if I'm not mistaken. I think,
I think
late
so, yeah.
43.
That is like the height of the war. Germany was like winning just before Russia, the Barbarossa, the invasion of Russia,
Yeah.
right?
So actually, also you touch upon Germany. Yeah, there were a lot of U-boats in those days,
Oh, yeah.
hanging around
Yeah.
the Atlantic,
Yeah.
and so the journey was also
Anytime.
not safe, and they were all these cadets on this boat was always on the lookout for U-boats and worried about
How did he survive all the risks?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Okay.
they could see even sometimes the debris, of ships which had been attacked.
Oh.
So it was a very dangerous
Harrowing.
trip.
Yeah.
So he managed to go to New York, and from New York they transported them to Tucson, Arizona.
Yeah,
where they
Yeah,
had-
Tucson. Yeah. And there he finished this will be his miracle year of training, right?
Yes, miracle year.
1
He
year
always
to
describe
train a full pilot.
miracle
Why
year.
why was it a
Because
miracle?
in 1 year they did everything and then churn out a pilot.
How long does it usually take?
Oh, longer, much longer.
Yeah, much
The
longer.
process is a bit longer.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So they because they cut short means you have to do a lot of extra,
Yeah.
Yeah, I read in the book a part where his trainer stalled and then he had to recover the aircraft.
Oh yeah, because back then they didn't have flight simulators. so one of the key moments in a cadet's training is the instructor will fly the plane up into the sky and then turn off and then he will get the engine to stall. And then the cadet has to jump start the engine in midair as the plane is in free fall down.
Come out and push.
And you panic and don't know what to do. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, he panicked for a while, right? I mean, his mind went blank for a while. Right?
He did, and his mind did went blank, and it's a lot of people, like even the early days of SIA. I talked to just to jump forward in time. I talked to some of his students
okay.
when he became a flight instructor for Singapore Airlines, right? Back then, Malayan Airways, they also shared, hey, their minds just blank, they're panicking, and then some of the instructors they're not understanding at all. Like you hesitate, they scold you. Then the plane is falling, and then you're panicking, and then you have someone scolding you on top of that. So it's if he's able to overcome all this and still be able to have that calmness to say, okay, I will jumpstart the plane. And
This is ngai plus something already.
yeah,
I
that's-
don't know what that is.
Yeah, ngai plus.
Ngai plus zai.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
And I think out of all this, out of all his experiences, his overcoming all the turning points. I think it also molded his character in much. And like I think what Jonathan was saying about the training instructors that he experienced, I think later on, especially in MAL in Singapore, he sees how the expatriates treat the locals. He then decided to do a different way, to do a way that is more approachable, so that they can learn a bit faster and in a better atmosphere. Did not instill like bad temper, scolding.
Yeah, that's right.
And then make you feel very low, that kind of thing. So I think that's how he started to formulate his own training style.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Which was much better for the locals.
Okay. Well, in the meantime, we're in 1943, and so far he was 21 years old. He saw the Japanese bomb Kai Tak Airport. Somehow he managed to get from Hong Kong all the way to China, and from China he was selected after grueling exams, and he made his way to Lahore, to Bombay, some training. Then after that, all the way to across the Atlantic Ocean, U-boats, everything else. He didn't get torpedoed. Arrived at say hi to the Statue of Liberty, New York, and then to Tucson, Arizona, and 1 year of training, right? So graduated training. I've got my wings. What happened next?
Had a heartbreaking farewell.
Heartbreaking farewell. 'Cause, he got together with this girl, Marilyn.
Marilyn, an American
girl.
American girl, yeah. And
well, Fred, you could have been blonde.
Philip, I wouldn't be here.
He would be American.
We have a different story.
Yeah.
No, there wouldn't be any story to talk.
Yeah, that's right. So then they were very much in love. And then because he was going he was like, okay, I'm done with my training. I need to return to China. And then she was like, no, I want you to marry me, so that so that we can be sure that we will be together. But then Captain Ho was like, I don't know whether I'll come back after the war. I don't even know if I'll survive the war, right? So he didn't want to yeah, that's right. So instead of marrying her, the least he did was just to get engaged with her. And then he says, okay, after the war, we'll see what happens. Then what happens was, after they got engaged, then he left. He was at the holding site before boarding the ship. So there was a wait of a few days. And then he decided, okay, I'll call Marilyn. So he makes a phone call, and then someone picks up the phone. It's not Marilyn. And then says, Marilyn's not here anymore.
Oh.
It was so vague. He had no idea what it meant. Like did she die, or is the family stopping me from seeing her or whatever? And he just didn't understand. And he wanted so badly to go back to check
to AWOL.
Yeah, but he didn't lah. And he carried that heartbreak, that question with him. Like, I don't know what happened to her.
Wow.
Yeah. With him, he left America on that note.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was the title of the chapter was it Heartbreak?
I
saw it.
Sorry, it's been a few years. I cannot.
Okay. Sad departure.
Sad departure. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So against the backdrop of war, he has this uncertainty. Like,
right.
I don't know if she's alive. I don't know if she's dead or whatever.
This is back to Ngai lah.
Yeah, back to Ngai. Yeah.
I think, if I was in his place, I would have thought that either the parents or the family did not want.
So what was the truth after the war? He never found out.
Oh, he only found out in the 90s, right? 1990s.
When he returned to
America.
And you see, he's quite thorough in this. He went to check up. He went through the Department of what? I don't know what it's in.
Oh, it's like the Registry of Birth and Deaths, lah. Yeah. To check on that.
Should we actually talk about it in the podcast? Maybe we just leave it hanging so people can read the book.
Okay,
what
sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Remember, the book is called
You
Memoirs
right.
of a Flying Tiger.
You can cut right.
Yeah. After this podcast, then you'll tell me, because I want to know.
So actually, it's a very, very interesting. What he did and what he found out.
Yeah. This one confirm the ladies will go and find out this one.
Yeah.
And get their boyfriends or husbands to go and get the book.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go on, all right?
Okay,
Let's
So now he
Yeah.
travels from America to Australia by boat again, because they couldn't fly them back. So it took quite a few weeks to get from America to Australia. It's not a straight journey to China.
Yeah.
So now they are going back to all these successful young pilots.
Right.
On the ship back to China.
I suspect this will be like Port Moresby or something, but never mind.
No,
So-
Melbourne.
In Melbourne, okay. Right. So after that, then all the way to China again.
Yeah. So it's very, very long.
Man, how do you survive? Seriously, in U-boat infested waters.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe just to add one detail about daily life that I thought was very interesting. In many ways, Captain Ho was a little bit advantaged because of his English education.
Yeah.
Think about it, you have a whole bunch of Chinese soldiers. Their whole life they've been eating Chinese food.
Yeah.
And then they go to America. They spend 1 year eating Western food. Many of his comrades just couldn't survive. He couldn't take it. The food.
Lucky guy.
No rice.
Yeah, no rice. But for Captain Ho, he was still able to adapt better because at least Western education. So he was been exposed to some of these things.
That's pretty much the story of Singapore, isn't it? We are multicultural. We can cope with different
Yeah,
things.
yeah. So I guess being in this region in Southeast Asia, it helped shape him in that. And so can you imagine being on a boat for so many weeks, and there's an American boat. So yeah, they're all eating Western food every day. The Chinese soldiers were really struggling.
Okay.
Yeah.
In fact, nowadays he hate eating baked beans. Baked beans. Baked beans. Baked
Maybe he
beans.
hasn't tried the Korean army stew yet, but okay. So he arrived back in China, right?
Yes.
And then the war, now he gets involved in the war. 1944.
Based
already.
in Hanzhong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
He was part of the first bomb squad.
Well, first one was squadron. Yeah.
So there's a few issues that came up. Cause one, he wasn't very clear about the stories. And then the other thing was I didn't get to see the diary and the logs until the thing was written finished. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
How
So
Am I?
come,
It's
Jonathan?
okay.
How come?
how come I also don't know. Like I remember
I have everything. Right?
yeah,
You
so-
mean I kept them from you.
yeah. So
Secret.
actually like
I
when-
wanted to make him more
Yeah.
exciting.
but he got me to work harder lah. So yeah.
No, that's exciting because then
Yeah.
we have a sequel to the book, right?
Yeah.
We have 8 missions. Now we have another 10 more missions not
Yeah,
covered,
that's-
right?
But definitely, I mean, I have cited the logbook.
Yeah.
I have the logbook.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's definitely. I think maybe in the pictures,
Yeah.
we in the pictures,
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
book, we have it.
But it's exciting because even the 8 missions, I was so
Survival,
riveted.
no,
really.
not easy
The
to
first one
survive.
was the reconnaissance and then
Yeah.
I think plane them back. The second one, I think,
it was the strafing mission.
the third one was a strafing mission.
The third one's
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe you're right.
Yeah.
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 Well, we are going to do the strafing mission into our trailer.
Yeah.
I because yesterday he explained to us. Okay, here's the cool thing about Captain Ho, because yesterday I went to ask because I'm trying to visualize the strafing mission.
Yeah.
So I was asking very specific questions like,
Mm-mm.
okay, did you hold the button to shoot, or did your nose gunner in the Mitchell 25 shoot?
Mm.
He said, I hold. Very clear without hesitation. So he fired. So that means that the B-25 had, fuselage mounted guns, right? And he was the one personally firing. And I asked him, how long do you hold? For about 5 seconds, right? For a .5 caliber, 5 seconds. I think about it. It's pretty long,
Yeah.
right? And he was firing along the road on Japanese cavalry on there. So what amazing, and I think after that, despite the carnage and all that, he had to do it because, it was, so much has been done and this is war, right? So to me, I was very vivid in my imagination of what happened.
Yeah.
Overall, can you just give an overview? What other kind of missions did you flew? Bombing missions?
There were bombing missions. There was one where they had to bomb like I think like a rail
Rail factory,
yeah,
right?
railway yard. Yeah.
installations.
So
How many Singaporeans have done that? Maybe just another one.
yeah, but I think it was amazing, you know, like because on these missions, some of his other comrades were shot down.
Shut down, right?
Yeah.
It's a handsome young man. I didn't read that part yet.
Yeah. So I mean I asked him like how do you cope, you know, like you train with these people for like 1-2 years, they've been people you eat with, you play with and all that, and then you see them go down. You see their plane go down. You
Literally, they were flying information.
yeah, they
and
fly
left and right,
information.
that
Yeah,
happens.
correct. So to see the planes go down, you come back, you don't see them come. You know, they're not there. How do you even cope with that? And he says, no, we just have to, you know. So like come back, then they'll just like continue on with daily life as if nothing happened. They'll just play tennis, you know, to get their minds off it so that they can just focus on the next mission. I tell you, like, if I put myself in his shoes, right, it would be super difficult for me to move on. Like I can relate because I had a student who passed away. Oh man, my mind was like just lingering like on it, you know. So what more like if his comrades that you work with.
Well, let's
for 2
take that in
years.
perspective,
Yeah.
right? How long was all the missions? Because he started flying 1945.
I think end of
A year?
1944, right? Yeah.
So it couldn't be more than a year.
No.
No.
About
Right.
half a year.
Yeah.
Maybe half a year.
So it's
Half
like
a year.
every month, one mission, two mission, one mission, two
Yeah,
mission.
that's
So
right.
you fly, 2 weeks time you got to go up again.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
For
right.
real. Anytime you may not come
Yeah.
back.
But
Yeah.
they were not afraid to go for mission. They were in fact waiting, right?
Yeah, that's right.
He says that before every mission, you know, they will be
Looking
seated
at the board.
and waiting. Yeah, and they were ready to go and wanting to go. So
Yeah, that's
you know,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
And it's quite something. I mean, I can't think of myself wanting to, you know, because you're putting yourself at risk. You know, you never know when you're going to come back. But yet they had this want to go
yeah.
to do the job.
Yeah, that's right. It's really crazy.
What was his last mission?
The last mission was aborted. Yeah.
And a war.
Yeah, because the Japanese surrendered, but it was the big one,
Yeah,
you know,
big one,
like they planned a massive one, you know, so
Yellow
like
River. What was that called?
I-
The title Yellow River.
I can't remember, but I remember like basically everyone was mobilized. It was the last
Big one,
one.
big one.
Everyone was just going to go all out, and they were just waiting for the signal to take off, you know.
Mm.
And then suddenly the news came. Okay, the Japanese surrendered.
Man, even this has such a... I can just imagine the movie scene.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose it's a bit anticlimactic. Like you imagine it's like Star Wars, you know, like we're going to fight the big battle, and then okay, and
It's okay, it's a good thing.
but yeah, no, it's true.
Can you
It was
imagine the feeling,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah,
in
it's
the
good.
cockpit and then, wow, you know,
Yeah.
this is
But it's a
over.
big relief.
it's a huge relief. Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
they need not continue all this destruction and loss of lives. You know,
That's right.
senseless loss of life actually.
Yeah.
Mm.
But of course the peace didn't last very long.
Yeah.
Because after that
Oh, yeah.
the civil war took center
Again.
stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they were called to basically bomb one another lah, you know, because
Yeah.
it's a civil war, and that really troubled him.
He didn't want to be
He
part
didn't
of
want
that
it,
fight.
yeah.
He said that I joined the Air Force to fight the Japanese, but now you're asking me to fight my own people. He said no, and that was it.
He was guided by values and principles.
Principles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Okay. Well, it's kind of like a bit more peacetime now. So,
Yeah.
how did he meet Mom?
Oh, while flying, still he flew in China. He did what do you call repatriation type of flying all
Yeah.
over China.
He became a civil aviation pilot.
Right.
Yeah.
Still dangerous in those days, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
But before that, I think he did some training of the new Air Force pilots when they came back. Remember, for a short period.
Oh yeah. He was training the Air Force pilots. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Then later on, he converted to civilian airline,
Yeah.
Mm.
and that's when he met my mother
Mm.
because he used to fly to Shanghai. No.
Yeah.
He was stationed in Shanghai.
Yeah.
Shanghai. And actually he met my mother in Hangzhou.
And for the first
Hangzhou,
time,
Wuhan, right? And now it's Wuhan. Right?
Yeah, that's right.
Hangzhou.
and for the first time, your mother didn't like him. The first time a girl didn't like him.
There's this. He used to go to this cafe run by my mother's auntie, called Auntie Rosie, I think. We have this cafe, and where the boys, the army boys or the Air Force boys used to hang out. And my mother was a young lady, and I think she was probably studying still. And she used to go to her auntie's cafe during her holiday period. And so my mother and her sister used to play the ukulele and sing. So because they used to sing more English music, so it sort of captivated all these young Chinese boys. And so my father was there, and somehow he was attracted to her. But like you said, Philip, from the book, she was not keen on him. Yeah, I think she had a boyfriend then. His name was Lucky.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe not so lucky.
And my father, I think he played his cards, or he took his time.
Yeah.
So
He started the ngai thing again.
so and in fact, I think this, I don't know whether it's true, but my father was he read sort of like, he knew what he knew what to do, so he sort of become friendly with my mother's father,
parents, yeah.
my father especially.
Yeah.
So I think he got to
Strategy,
know
yeah.
him. Yeah, he got to know him a bit. I'm not sure whether he played bridge with him, because my father already started to play bridge in those days. Maybe my grandfather, maybe, I'm not sure. But anyway, he probably had something in mind, so he worked on the father. He was smart.
So never give up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's how it started.
Right.
Yeah, in Wuhan, Hangzhou in those days.
Right.
Listening to my mother and her
Yeah.
sister play music.
Well, we'll leave some for the listeners' imagination. And I think after that, he somehow decided to come back to Malaya and Singapore, and then
Not yet.
No?
Not yet.
Okay.
Wait, your friend, the AI AI director would, what do we call? Be able to make the story more interesting. Is it?
No.
The AI. I thought you said you have your AI partner, right?
Well, this guy.
Yeah.
I was actually going to ask him, does he understand what is ngai or not? But
Yeah. Later, I think.
Yeah.
Later we'll test him.
yeah, we'll test him.
Yeah. Oh, we're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was not. No, he didn't come back yet, because it was in '49 that he.
That was
he met
49.
my mother.
Okay.
And that was a very interesting period in China.
Yeah,
or-
turbulent.
Yeah, turbulent time in China.
Right.
And that's where the two airlines, what do you call, what's that phrase that is, 起义, 两航起义.
I thought that one was
Yeah, Hangzhou.
was later.
Yeah, about 49 the time.
Oh, 49.
No, we already
Okay,
we
sorry.
move a bit fast.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. But do you want to talk
No,
about the love? There was a bit of a love triangle thing going on, because at the time when he met Fred's mother, this was still the early days of the relationship. But that was when he at around the same time he also met the first girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
But he
Sufan,
wasn't.
yeah.
Yeah, Sufan. Yeah,
Oh,
and
the
then
one I thought he said to
Yeah.
tell
So I
us
want
that-
to keep some
okay,
secrets so that the people who
Exciting,
listen
yeah.
will go and read.
Yeah,
you know.
okay.
That one is a
Yeah.
real one. No?
yeah, that was the real one, yeah. Okay.
Okay. In fact, I just wanted to kind of like fast forward a bit, in the sense that okay, so he was successful in love, he's successful in war, okay, because there was another big fight that is coming up that subsequently shaped Singapore as a nation, right, which is the Singapore Airlines story, right, how he got involved and how it was so pivotal. And in the end, to me it's like it's kind of ways that we don't know. I mean, if we don't know the past, how do you know the present? You fly in SQ today, everything is perfect and everything else, but how did it start? I can't imagine the day when there's just 3 or 4 pilots in Singapore Airlines. Can you tell me a bit more, what was his role in shaping that entire airline scene?
Actually, interestingly, there's no book written on SIM. I think maybe Jonathan should on this.
I mean
interesting project.
there were some books like the life of the former CEO of
Lim Chen Beng,
SIA. Yeah,
Lim
correct.
Chen Beng.
But it didn't go into any of these details.
Yeah. It was more of the how SIA was formed.
Yeah.
The commercial side of it, but not about
that's right.
the pilot side.
So I mean,
you can tell the story
sure.
one day.
I mean, at least from the little that I know is I mean there was Malayan Airways. It was mostly run by the British. So it's not that there were 4 pilots, but there were a couple of other British pilots, right?
Okay, let me ask the
sure.
AI, right? Who was the first trainer pilot? Is it first trainer pilot in SIA?
I think maybe who was the first chief pilot?
The first chief
pilot, yeah.
Actually, a bit.
Chief pilot.
No, cause. Oh, okay.
In the SIA.
MAL.
Malayan
Airlines.
Yeah. Malayan or Malaysian?
Malayan. Yeah, this.
Malayan Airlines.
I think he knows. This one, he should know.
No, well, you think so?
Yeah,
It's recorded.
No, this guy very smart.
Well, his data is limited to September 2021. Well, anything after 2021, it wouldn't be in.
Oh,
so I'm just curious.
After 2021, then it's okay. Right?
The first chief pilot of Singapore Airlines, SIA, was Captain Lim Chin Beng.
Oh, wrong.
He played a significant role in the early years of SIA, helping to establish the airline as a reputable and reliable carrier.
Oh.
Captain Lim Chin Beng's leadership and
he wasn't even a captain, right?
No, he was a pilot. He's not a pilot.
Okay.
As for Malayan Airlines,
well, AI, I'm glad you're wrong. We can set the record straight.
Captain Jock Bryce.
Okay. Maybe I ask again.
Instrumental in the development of the airline, played a crucial role in shaping its operations and safety.
Chin Beng was MD. More.
Chin Beng and Captain Jock Bryce made valuable
Captain Ho Weng
contributions
Toh,
to their
Winky.
respective airlines, leaving
Malayan
a lasting
Airlines.
impact on the aviation industry in Singapore and Malaysia.
The truth is that the AI is actually consolidating information, and interpreting it, but it's not necessarily accurate. That's
Slowly
why
he will get more accurate. Slowly he'll be smarter.
Yeah.
Slowly he'll give you more accurate answers.
You think so?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Well, I'm glad because they're not ready to take over the world yet. Then.
As for the confusion earlier, after conducting further research, I couldn't find any specific information regarding Captain Ho Weng Toh Winky's involvement with Malayan Airlines. It's possible that he may have been a pilot or had a role within the airline, but without more details, it's difficult to provide a definitive answer.
Okay.
If you have any more information or if there's anything else I can assist you with, please let me know.
So I'm just going to do a Google search to see whether this part of history recorded.
You just put Captain Ho Weng Toh.
Yeah, I put Captain Ho Weng Toh, Winky at the Malayan Airlines. They talk about which past history. Okay, good. Ageless Online 2015. Okay, good. It talks about him on the Malayan Airlines, but it's very just a few sentences, so the AI doesn't really get it. But good. Let's talk about him now.
Okay,
about
sure.
the role that he played.
So I mean, back then Malayan Airways was largely run by the British. So they had quite a few pilots. He came to Singapore because the other 3 were his good friends. One of them in particular was his childhood friend back in Ipoh. Yeah, Leong Ming Sing. Yeah,
MS Leong.
MS Leong. Yeah. So they were the first of 4 non-whites to join the airline, and it was quite a big thing lah. But one thing that they faced was the discrimination was really bad. They were not paid the same. They were not treated the same. In fact, when they joined, they were not given the same rank or given their experience in flying as well. So eventually, like he was on a mission. He was like, okay, I want to encourage more locals to join. And especially the war experience really shaped that, because he understood how harrowing it is to do the flight training, especially the first one is to go up and restart the engine. So he knew how much people were afraid, and one of the things that made him remembered by so many of his former students as the best teacher they ever had, right? I actually asked them, like, what is it that made him such a the best teacher you ever had? I thought, it's because he said something or what. No, it's because of how he made them feel. Like, he really understood how to comfort them. Like, before they took off, he was like saying, "Don't worry, everything's gonna be okay." He assure them, and then they will go together. And then some of them, they really struggle to pass, and he will continue to encourage them. He says, "It's okay, it's fine, we'll just try again." And it was a huge contrast to some of the other instructors that that was around back then. They would just shout and scream,
Shout out to all teachers today.
Yeah. So he really did that, and that was what helped to empower so many of them to eventually to stay on and eventually pass. Yeah, so he trained essentially the first 300 pilots lah, and of course
300 pilots.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
And of course we Malayan airlines became Malaysia Singapore Airways, and then it split, and then eventually Singapore Airlines. So some of them left to join MAS, but then the core we still have a good number that stayed in Singapore Airlines and I think what's quite pivotal is eventually he became chief pilot of the 737 fleet. Now, back then when I heard, chief pilot of 737 fleet, I didn't understand too much about the significance. But then I spoke to some pilots, and they explained that the 737 fleet was very critical to the expansion of Singapore Airlines internationally.
Right.
Yeah, so he was the chief pilot of that fleet, and still being a flight instructor, his duties didn't just involve training cadets. It also involved training people to become captains.
Yeah. So he was the leader training other leaders.
Correct. To certify them as captain. And one story stands out in my memory, which was there was one incident where one of the planes had engine problems, and the captain of that plane was just minted. Was just minted by him that day. So people were like worried. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a new captain. Is he going to make it? And then Captain Ho was like, complete trust. It's like, I know he's going to make it. Not worried at all. I'm sure he can. And true enough, the captain landed the plane safely.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the level of trust that he had in his students, and the level of empowerment that he went to train them.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a remarkable man.
Yeah, that's right. So for me as a lecturer, right, to hear all these stories, it's like, that really set the model for me.
And just on this point about his pilots becoming captains and so forth, it's interesting to note that many of them are still his friends. Despite him retiring so many years, they can still remember him. Often when you are working in any company, once you leave the company, you're virtually forgotten, virtually immediately. But to this day, many of his former pilots or former trainees still come back and see him or bring him out. And this is something, it's quite amazing.
It's quite amazing.
And because of this, many of his friends become my friends. And so I know his pilot friends. And in fact, just recently, one pilot just came to see him. He met him in 1972 as his trainee on the 737. Yeah, and he came to say hello to my father.
At this juncture, I think I want to ask kind of like, because now we know Captain Ho as a young man, as a fighter, as a very romantic person, as a teacher. What was he like as a father? Growing up with him. You mentioned that you only came to know his stories later on in life. So he was very busy
the
at first and all that.
The details. Because he didn't share very much.
Share at first,
he
right?
Said, even this gentleman that came to visit my father, David Woon, he's also from Malaysia, Malaysian boy. He joined in about 1972, one of the early cadet pilots. And his one of his comments which struck me was also this point that my father did not really talk much about himself.
Yeah.
He said that when my father left, only when my father left, that the stories about him fighting in World War II started to circulate.
Only when
coming
your
up.
father left where?
Yeah. Left the airlines in 1980,
is that
when he retired.
Only in the 80s then
Yeah,
the
so-
pilots start to know that he fought in the war.
Yeah, I mean, it was not well circulated. I mean, they probably just hearsay or hear something, but it was not like written. There's no written form, lah. So not so much was known, lah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, in fact, did he only start telling people after, I think maybe it's post-traumatic stress and all that, after a while he had to unpack through several decades.
I think
but-
some people started to ask him a bit more.
Right.
Yeah, why don't you write about what you did? So I think that started the
Okay, so before that was just day-to-day run,
Yeah,
normal
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Singaporean, HDB
and he was
estate.
very actively involved in sports,
Right.
and doing his flying and things
Right.
like that.
Right. So only like in his
Late twilight
50s,
days,
60s,
then he
70s,
started
then he started to reflect. and talk.
reflect, and then maybe just pen some things. Yeah.
Right.
But he was quite good at his writing. I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite good at his writing, and
Yeah.
then he somehow has quite good memory for things.
Yeah.
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 And also maybe he had some logbooks
Right.
to refer to. And then what I think was very important in his recollection was the oral history. When he did the oral history, then he started to really think a bit deeper. And at that time, he also had more time because he already had retired. The oral history was done in 2000, I think, roughly that.
2000.
So you see, he already retired for
Okay.
20 years.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
during his 20 years, or rather when in his
So
retirement,
but for a whole period of time, it was pretty much untold story.
Yeah.
Period.
Maybe just to add one insight lah. Like one thing I got out of my 9 months of interviewing him was, he's a very humble person. Like he might have done something great, right? But he didn't think it was like something to boast about or talk about. It was only like small conversations with people like who started telling him, hey, maybe you should share your stories. Like this story that you didn't think was worth talking about has value to other people. That's when he started to say, oh, really? Otherwise he just think, okay lah, I did this, no big deal, Yeah.
yeah, actually, this is how the book started. Was
Yeah.
when he was with in Hong Kong with George Yeo and what's his this Robert Kwok. They were together at dinner. So my father was talking to both of them, and then I think there's talk about his
Wartime.
wartime experiences. So George, as he heard, listened longer, said, "Hey, this is something you must write on." So then later,
Which year was that?
2013, 2005, 2013.
So recent.
Maybe
Wow.
115. Yeah, because I at least the way I understand the chronology
Around
was
there lah.
not too long after. Then Joshua started to ask.
So
people.
at this point, I must share my
Yeah.
my anger
Okay, sure. Yeah.
because I really enjoy World War II stuff. And I grew up reading all this stuff, and then Limbo saying what he did for the country and so on and so forth. And I asked myself, were there other people who fought for Singapore during World War II? Actually, there's another gentleman who actually flew Spitfires, at the battle, at the D-Day landing, and started Love 300, but he has since passed away. And then as I researched further, I came across Captain Ho's story. I was like, what? He's still around? He's still alive? That's insane. So I was like, Gil, please, let's go and get him, let's find out more about him. That's how I reached out. And then, I found you on, Jonathan online, texted you, and then at the same time, we talked to the publisher and all that, and finally got Fred. But I had to be very determined to find the story, because there was just a couple of articles about him.
You didn't go to Google, you can find him, but then you can find
A couple of articles, but in order to find more,
you can go to the publisher and say, hey, where is this gentleman?
well, eventually we went through that route lah. So Gilbert and me separately went. Gilbert found you through that, and then I found Jonathan online, because I just sleuthed every possible links there were, right? My point here is that I'm very angry because I don't think Singaporeans have recognized sufficiently Captain Ho, right? At that point of time, there was no Singapore, but he fought for what he thought was his people, his country, the right and wrong. And subsequently, he chose this country. And today he's so loyal, so patriotic to the country. And then at the same time, you know, he built our iconic airline. And we practically, most Singaporeans don't know. I mean, I've been speaking to everybody that I know, and most people are like, who? What?
Yeah. No, he very humble. Like he even has like connections with Lee Kuan Yew, but he don't go around telling, hey, I know Lee Kuan Yew, I know Lee Kuan Yew. Yeah.
This one, must tell this story about Lee Kuan Yew. Because my father was very passionate about, in the early days in the 50s, wanting to help the local pilots to move forward. So he and a few of his friends formed a union, the first Pilots Union.
Oh.
And Lee Kuan Yew was the legal advisor.
Oh.
He used to go to his house to seek legal advice.
That was when the union and him were
Yeah.
later on.
Yeah. But
Mr. Lee was.
So going forward, moving forward,
Right.
one day when my father, later on in his life, when he was about maybe in his 50s or 40s, was it 40s? Late 40s or 50s, he decided he wanted to further his study or get his degree, because he never got a degree. He studied in many universities, right, John?
yeah,
Only,
Hong Kong U, and Sun Yat-sen
Oh, he's
University.
so he said, I must try.
Yeah.
And at age about 45 or something, I don't know, can't remember, but late age, he went back into the university, went back to study. And it was very, very tough. I know I could see him burning midnight oil and all this, and while flying and looking after the children. And yet he tried. And one day while at a lecture, lo and behold, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew comes in. And then he said, hey, Captain Ho, what are you doing here? He was amazed. How come?
Mr. Lee was giving the lecture.
No. He just came to visit.
Yeah, he was like.
Oh, and these are like
touring around
undergraduates.
Yeah.
and
My
young
father
people.
was with all the young fellas.
Whoa.
all the 20-something, you know.
This is NUS or what?
Yeah. This was
So
the Bukit Timah
saw
campus.
him, because my father is not so young, and then young one old guy. Among all the young, what are you doing here? He was surprised to see my father there. He spotted my father because he had a interaction with him in the early days.
You could recognize him.
Yeah.
And also because my father used to fly him, and he was very particular about his pilots.
That's amazing, because I think if anything, Captain Ho Weng Toh Winky literally personify what I think is the spirit of Singapore. 活到老学到老. No matter how old you are, you learn, which the government today is trying to encourage all of us to do, to have this mindset of learning, resilience, right? Yet empathic, with the students, with people, love your family, right? And in the end have a, wow, I love the way you started this conversation, Fred.
What?
My father was a remarkable man.
Oh.
Yeah.
What a legacy to leave. I mean, if my sons will say that about me, when they are older of age, I mean, I've done my job, right? That's awesome. Yeah. Well, thanks so much. I think we had a great podcast. I think just a start point to our journey. We are determined to tell the story and get people to listen, right? So it starts from here, lah. Yeah. Okay. Any last thoughts yourselves?
You had a lot of questions. We didn't actually.
Questions is just to start us thinking, lah.
Start us thinking.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You memorized the answer.
No. I had to burn midnight oil yesterday.
Oh. Well, if I can pick up one, do you feel any pressure, Fred, to live up to your father's expectations?
No, I definitely have not. Because I think the way he brought us up, just like I think the way he trained the pilots, is very caring, understanding, and not a pushy type, And I think this all stems from also his early childhood, because his father was a very strict person, and so he did not want to also do the strict format, so he went the other way,
Maybe if I can ask and that anchor the most important question of all. Why do you think it's important for Singaporeans to know your dad's, to know Captain Ho's story? Jonathan, you start with you.
Okay. I guess especially for young people, like mentioned just now, right? I wrote this when I was preparing to be a lecturer, and at that time my own experience was, like, how am I supposed to teach 800 students? How am I supposed to lead a team of 20 teaching assistants? I didn't know how to do any of this, and I would have struggled a lot on my own. But then, talking to Captain Ho, learning about his life stories, gave me a lot of insights. Gave me many examples and models on what to do, what not to do, how it's okay to struggle and all that. Gave me a lot of insights on how to do all these things, and it taught me a way. Basically, he ran his fleet like a family. Yeah, everybody call him the affectionate nickname Daddy-O. Yeah, and some of his students, his colleagues, they say he really treated us. He was really like a father to us. He would challenge us to do better, not to be complacent. He would always ask us aim higher, and that became the model for me. And I believe that for many Singaporeans, young or old, we can learn a lot from all these examples.
Yeah.
And even ngai, by far ngai is also one of those values, because like we may not have to go through the kinds of suffering that he experienced, or the twists and turns in life, but to see that it's okay to ngai. It's not failure. Like one of the interesting things, like nowadays a lot of young people have this belief that they cannot change. Like they let's say they take a personality test, then the Myers-Briggs, then a lot of them now say, I am this person, I cannot change, I am this person. Or if they fail, they always say, I cannot improve.
It's not me.
Yeah. So they, nowadays I'm seeing a lot of youth say this, and I think if anything, Captain Ho's story teaches us, as long as we persevere, we can change, we can improve. We don't have to be defined by the things that, like by a personality test or whatever, that as long as we set our heart and mind on something, we can be. The other lesson that I think is very important is, every time when we suffer, right, it's very easy for us to focus back on ourselves. It's like, the world is terrible, all these people are terrible. And what has touched me so much about Captain Ho is that for him, he's able to be very other-centered in times of suffering. It's never about, myself. It's the moment he suffers, he starts worrying about other people. Are they okay? Rather than, am I okay? And I think that is something that of value. That it gives us new perspectives on who we can be, on the kind of people that we want to become.
Wow, there's such deep and powerful insights to reflect on, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
How about you, Fred?
Yeah, I think just touching on what Jonathan said is true. I think he often thinks of other people more than of himself. It's like self-sacrificing. So that's one of the characteristics of my father, I think, which I appreciate a lot. He's not selfish in that sense. And also, like, if you think about it, also it's not selfish on his part that he joined the Air Force and fought during the war. Had he been selfish or just think about himself, he could as easily, when he was in China, when he was a refugee student, he could just continue to be a refugee student.
Yeah.
And just sit pretty and just let things go by, continue with his studies. But he stopped his studies to go into the Air Force. Why? To do a cause, because he saw a cause that he wanted to fight for justice and peace.
Justice.
Yeah. And back to what you were trying to ask me about, why we need to, why is it important?
Yeah.
I would say when I was growing up, I used to watch Batman, Superman. So I think they captivated and inspired me with their noble character and their courageous deeds. Likewise, I think we also need some symbol, somebody, a local, especially a local character who has experienced hardships in World War. especially World War period. And since my father is still around, I think he can be a powerful motivator.
Yeah, the truth of the matter is, to kind of put it in a jar, I think he's a hero. When I read the book, when I read his story, he's a hero. You can call him unsung hero, but he's unsung not for his loss, but to our loss. You know, I mean, that would for me, why this story needs to be told. Because after this generation, people would maybe not remember, and this story not being told is a big loss for us as a people, because it actually captures the spirit of that generation that went through hell to build this country up. Yeah.
And I think just expanding, I think his hardships that he went through, and the guy he had to endure, is something which we can sort of is an example which we can learn from.
Totally agree.
Yeah, and it's ironical, that, just to share with you, the Taiwanese Air Force respect and recognize my father. To this day, in Singapore, they have this Taiwanese Veterans Association, and since they have discovered my father, I think in 2015, they have always been coming forward, Chinese New Year, give him things, invite him for dinners, pay him a lot of respect and recognition. In fact, in 2015, they invited him to Taiwan for a special ceremony. Gave him VIP treatment. Okay, that's one thing. That's the ironical part. And then, even like the Malaysian Veterans Association, they also think him as a hero. You know where I'm coming from?
I know where you're coming
And that's
from.
where your anger is.
Yes.
can-
Thanks for putting that in, helping me to shape that.
But Philip,
Yeah.
I mean, as a son, I mean, I cannot be,
No, I know.
being.
No, but my anger, I feel, is as a Singaporean. I know it's difficult for you to articulate this,
Yes,
because
because
you are
I'm
interested
the- I'm-
party.
yeah.
You are his
So I mean,
son,
I
your family.
cannot sort of like
Yeah. Yeah.
say things like that, like in the sense. So
Totally agree.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm just sharing with you. I mean,
yeah.
parties that are not Singaporean,
Yeah.
and yet they
They see a good thing, they're owning it,
uh,
but we ourselves don't.
they feel that here is a precious character.
Yeah.
And I think they also feel that to them it is a good example, because for that matter, the ROC Veterans Association, all these men never fought in any war, and they recognize that my father fought, and he is precious to them.
Yeah, that's why, on the final note, when I went to your house yesterday, Fred, and I walked in and I shook his hand, literally all the hair on my arm stood up. Because in my mind, this is a man who fought in the Great War. And this means he was a great guy, a great man, No matter what, my parents, I mean, that whole generation went through hell, but a few million of them actually engaged in the conflict, and they actually survived, and they actually, on both sides of the equation, not just the victor side. But to me, yeah, it was a big moment. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
A wow moment.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow.
So I mean, whatever else, whether or not we manage to get things out, you know that at least one Singaporean recognizes it. At least one. I'm sure there could be hundreds, and maybe, hopefully, in time to come, thousands.
I hope so too, because I mean, like of all the people that we look at as heroes and role models, you know, one of the interesting things a lot of young people say now, they say that the people that in society we hail as heroes or role models, many of them are now saying, hey, these people are not relatable.
Yeah.
Because they're overachievers. It's like whatever they do is so easy to them. And I think the uniqueness of Captain Ho is really he is a hero who is
Relatable.
very relatable. You look at him, he's not some overachiever. He's somebody who just struggles through. Fail, never mind. Just struggle, and then he gets to where he is.
The truth is that 800,000 people queue up for Taylor Swift. I can't understand. Well, not a
Yeah.
Swiftie, but
yeah. So I
here
mean,
we have a real deal. You know,
a very relatable person,
very
not an
relatable,
overachiever.
real deal, real person. You know.
Yeah.
So can you ask your friend, having heard all this, what he
Uh-huh.
thinks about Captain Ho?
Well, there's not enough data for him to play on. There's not enough stuff online. So that's what we should change,
Yeah.
right?
Not enough.
Yeah, because he's taking all the information from the
Even
internet.
Google also have not enough.
Google will just find those few articles that's written. No? There are no comment because no people commenting. People found out about it, right? And then the few videos that have been shot is people talking, so it doesn't go as text online. So this guy, you know,
Okay.
the AI deals with text.
Oh, he's not into audio yet.
Nah, yeah.
Maybe-
Well, thank you so much for being in the studio today. I hope this is I mean, I definitely benefited so much.